I was just in the middle of, what I was going to say to the group is what I was thinking for today. I think in the setup, the email that I had sent, I mentioned that I've been reading a book by a movement person called, his name is Kelly Starrett. He is a big, burly power lifter, but he's developed sort of mobility prescriptions and these whole systems of movement to, like, essentially, without going to a physiotherapist or to a doctor, to deal with dysfunction in your body where it pops up. And I've been a fan of his for a while, but I more recently, because of all of this pandemic stuff and everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, but certainly my life has gone from not being in front of a screen most hours of the day to like this like crunched up, purpley, kind of troll creature that sits in front of the screen and grumbles into his tea. No, actually, all kidding aside, I'm feeling it. Like, and I have been over the last number of weeks. I have been, unless I'm very diligent in giving my body intelligent care, I guess, I'm feeling it. Like there have been stretches at, days at a time where I'm just feeling recurring pain across my upper back and the tightness in the shoulders and just all the crunchy not so goodness. So what I was thinking here, and I've been playing with I bring up his book because I've been sharing some of his stuff with my high school students when I'm working with them online, but more to the point, I've just been kind of integrating it into my day, and because my day is always a yoga day, into my yoga practice. So what I thought we would do today is, the only issue is that a number of his prescriptions involve one or another type of prop, and a lot of them will use something like these, which, sorry, as I shift out of the way. So these are tune-up balls. They're meant to be massage balls that you can use on your body in different places to sort of smooth the kinks out. But this doesn't work for an online class. Like, okay, everyone go get your tune-up balls. That's not going to work. This is one of the demerits, I guess, of us not meeting at Epilepsy Toronto in person. But so what I thought we would do today is a little bit of kind of daily maintenance, okay, in a sense. So applying some different poses and postures that live within yoga, and less teaching a kind of a flowy practice where we kind of come through it, start chill and build some heat and then drop back down. Instead, I was thinking we'd move through a little bit more methodically, still mindfully, still moving with our breath, but instead dealing with the major joint areas that tend to express unhappiness with being in front of a screen a lot of the day. So those would be ankles, wrists, hips, shoulders, and then to a lesser extent neck. Okay, but I've already, we learned a moment ago, we already had a request for tree pose, so we're definitely going to work in a tree. So we've got a little balance work. Was there any other particular thing that anyone out there is looking for? Because I would be happy to integrate it to the best of my ability. No? No, good. Not super bad. Okay, well, a little tight we can work with. We can work with super bad tight too, actually. Now we're talking. I think super bad tight hips would be like if Jonah Hill went to a yoga class. Yeah? No? Okay. I'll stop humor. Oh, okay. At the very conclusion of class, I am going to, once I log off, I'll check, and I'm going to send a note just to you, Adriana, just to see if Well, maybe we could both do that. You've got my emails from the past, so maybe could you send me a note as well, and I'll compare and see what's going on. Okay? Sweet. No, thank you, and I'm glad you're here even without the reminder. That's great. Okay. Hooray. Okay, cool. So let's start off. And today I am starting just as I am, which is to say, sitting on my sitting bones, on my keister. And I'd encourage you to pick the pose to start off that feels right for you. So that might be sitting like this. I'm sitting cross-legged, but it may also, let's bring it back up a little bit so I actually appear in frame. It might also be lying down. Okay? Whatever's going to allow you the best access to letting go of everything else that's been part of your day. Okay? This, in some ways, can be, I often say that getting to yoga class is the most challenging part of yoga class. Setting aside the time, making the time to practice and giving that to yourself. Equally challenging, arguably, in some way, at least for me, sometimes more challenging, is the letting go of everything else. Like, essentially sending the message, okay, special delivery mind, talking to you, you can let go of all the other stuff. Okay, really, truly, unless the room is on fire, and if it is, get out of the room. But if it's not, know that whatever it is that is there and is, eating away at your awareness, that you can just kind of put a pin in that. Just say, oh yeah, right, my mind is focusing here, got it, pin it, wait on it, deal with you later. This time's for this. And you can probably hear even in my voice, there's a sort of a dropping down, a slowing down. And initially that's a conscious process, right? Like I'm actively trying to just like pump the brakes. But over time, and in fact when I say it's conscious, it's not really super duper conscious at this point for me. My body recognizes, here's the mat, you're here, you're connecting with your peeps, and things just have a way of, starting to settle. And creating the space for being okay with whatever comes up is important as well. So if you are sitting or lying and the thought comes up, what is he talking about? I can't let it go. That thought or that worry or whatever it is that you happen to be perhaps playing with or replaying in your mind keeps coming up, that's okay, let it go. Not necessarily even let go of the thought, just let go of the self-judgment. Okay. Now, we're going to begin with our feet, with our ankles. And so this will work either seated in a chair or sitting on a mat like I am here, okay? What I would suggest is whether you're on a chair or you are, unless you're unable to support yourself, okay, as I am right here, I'm going to show you, okay? What you'll notice is now, it may look like I'm exaggerating the posture, but essentially what we're aiming to do, okay, as much as we possibly can. Now I cheat and see if I'm leaning forward or not as I talk about this. But what we want to do is have our head stacked on top of our shoulders, so we're not leaning, okay? And our shoulders open, collarbones get really long. And then the feeling of our head and our neck balanced on top of our spine without the slump. So if the shoulders have drawn in, if we've rounded the back, okay, now I really am exaggerating it. If we've lost the tone in our belly, what we want to do is focus on, and especially here if we're on a chair, not sitting on the backs of our legs, like on your hamstrings, instead scooching up to the edge, okay, the edge of your seat. You can see I did that even without a seat back. Inhaling to lift the spine up, okay? At the same time as your head and your spine, and it's just intentional, right? Like I'm sure if we were to play back the video here, my head isn't actually coming up too high in the air on the inhale. Exhale, allow yourself to come down a little bit, just a bit of relaxation, okay? And then on the next inhale, head rises again, spine gets long, and simultaneously feel like you're dropping your sitting bones down. Okay? So we're moving in opposite directions just to create space through this whole central column of our bodies. Part of our central nervous system. And just notice what's going on. Notice all the feels. Are you calm? Are you sped up? Are you being accosted by an animal who wants to join your yoga practice? Okay. Wherever you are, whatever your situation is, let's just not fight it. Big part of the practice is letting go of the struggle. Okay? Thanks, buddy. All right. And from here, what we're going to do is, and you can really, what I'm going to do, there's lots of different ways. So finding a position that is comfortable for you. Okay, I'm going to move out of Henry's way because he's decided he wants to be the main attraction. What we're going to do is some ankle rotations. Okay? So simple, straightforward process here. To begin, spread your toes wide. So if you feel like your feet are like a deck of cards all kind of jammed together here, then notice your hand. Okay? Check out one of your hands. And notice how, you can see this on mine now, I'm exaggerating there, but you may notice that the difference between my fingers and my toes, there's a lot more space. Okay? Now I'm not exaggerating that, that's just kind of where they naturally fall. What we see there is the difference between wearing essentially a cast on our feet, which we call shoes all the time, and not, okay, on our hands. And so, you know, that compressed nature, our toes should have the kind of space that our fingers do. So let's see if you can spread your toes, and you can either hold your knee in to lift your leg up, or you can prop yourself up on your arms, okay? Just making sure that you're not driving your weight into your wrists, and then begin to point your toes down, forward, and inhale up, okay? More comfortable for me to bind, so I'm going to do that. Inhale to point. Exhale. So we're going to do half a dozen of these. Totally normal, natural to get some cracks and creaks here. As long as we're not feeling pain, not a problem. Couple more here. You see, I'm not rushing this, I'm just exploring. How does it feel? Can I smooth the motion out? Okay. And then here, when we get to the top, can you take your big toe, okay, and open up that side of the foot, big toe side of the foot, so the pinky toe swings around, and then point down to the opposite corner, almost like we've got half of an X. So point up to the, let's say, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock on a watch dial, and then down towards 4 or 5 o'clock. Ooh. And you come up, open, I've got this on the inside of my leg, down, and we might be tapping into the outer leg. And continue that, moving with your breath, only so far as your breath moves. So if you're panting, then I guess you'd be really moving like that fast, but we're moving slowly with our breath. So inhale, exhale. A couple more there. When we come back down to the bottom, then stay on that side, the outer side, okay, and sweep the pinky toe side up, and then sweep down. So now we're at 1 o'clock on the clock. Sweep down towards 7 point. Ooh, and careful about how much force you exert there. I got a little cramp action happening in the arch of my foot. Okay. Inhale. Really pressing through the heel here, opening up the top of the foot. Exhale. And then we'll come away. We're just going to let that drop down. Give your leg a rest. Not exactly a move, but it can feel nice. is just I don't know, this isn't an asana, but it's just, again, if we've got kind of jammed up, gummed up heels and ankles, again, know your own body, so you're not moving so fast here that this would cause a problem for you, but really all I'm doing is just moving my foot however I can. Ooh, I got a nice little crack up closer to my knee, just to get everything moving a bit. Okay, and then let that go. Both legs can come out front and just give them a little shake. Worked up a fair bit of tension in all likelihood in at least the front of the one leg. You can tuck back in, lift the other leg up. Okay, and we'll begin with a pointing. Inhale, point forward, exhale. Come back. Spend a lot of time, or at least we can in a practice, working on, you know, a fancy pants pose or two, worrying about flowing and moving. Sometimes just these little building blocks pay off hugely, bigly payoffs. Inhale to point, exhale to come up, and then point in and drop down in the opposite direction. Okay, goes without saying, I hope, but if you are moving into any range of motion that is feeling hinky, okay, really not pleasant, then just back off and make note, okay, what's happening there. A couple more in this first half of our X. Okay, and then when we get up to the top, we're just going to drop down on that same inner side, ooh, and then come up to the opposite, and a few of those. Oh, yeah. Okay, ooh, and let that go. And then same deal here, we can just give ourselves a little gentle mobilization. All I'm trying to do is just, again, we're tough on our ankles, and there isn't a ton of blood flow actually in this part of our body. This is why, you know, if you sprain an ankle or have any sort of injury in the ankles, they can take a fair bit of time to heal. So just getting things moving, half the battle. All right, we'll let that go. Now, option here, I'm going to actually do this on my back just so we can get a 2-for-1. If you were on a chair, you could just be sitting on the chair and use both feet at once. Okay, but since I'm not, I'm just going to come onto my back. So you allow yourself to get comfortable. Feet come up, okay, or feet come out if you're on a chair. And then let's bring both feet into a clockwise circle. You could do a lot worse than just exploring circles in a practice, like circles in the different joints of your body. And switch. So now I'm going counterclockwise. And then, as I often do, and I think those of you who have been practicing with me for a while, you know this, then we like to mess with it a little bit. So let's keep the right going counterclockwise, and see if you can make the left go clockwise. What? Again, messing with it is just about, oh, see, I started talking and then my body lost track of what was going on. Switch directions, so opposites. Left is going counter, right is going clock. This is just about playing with kind of our sensory motor cortex, just seeing, ooh, we got all technical there for a second. All I mean is just playing around with the relay of information. There we go, come on up. Gently, I just rolled up because that's comfortable for me, but in a way that makes sense for you. Last thing here as far as our feet go. Toes, okay? Some people will use toe spreaders, okay? Like I've got toe spreaders that I will wear around the house, but we've got built-in toe spreaders. They're called fingers, okay? You can put them, sort of just work them in. I'm gonna show you a different little mobilizer on each foot. So there's one, okay, where I've roughly got my fingers in there. There we go, okay. It doesn't feel super comfortable, and I wouldn't want to stay like this forever. I mean, one of the merits of toe spreaders is that you can put them in and walk around. But even just opening that up just for a minute, and you can see the toes open up, okay? Opposite foot, and you could do that with the same action with the opposite foot, but I want to give you just options here for things we can do, is to extend our toes back. Again, we're not trying to pull them off, okay? But pulling back. Ooh, that feels nice. And this, you know, we're stretching the whole plantar arch. So, you know, if you've ever had plantar fasciitis, oh, that is unpleasant. And just keeping everything sort of nimble and mobile down here, which this does, is helpful. And then if it's not bothering you, you can flex them, push them over. Okay? And let that go. And notice how your feet feel. Okay? Now, since we've worked with our feet, it seems like a nice opportunity for us to move into an asana, into tree pose, since there was the request for a balance practice. What I'm gonna offer for anyone who might feel like, because this is a really good point, is that we should, you know, we tend to, I think, many of us, we will go to what feels comfortable rather than what feels necessary or maybe challenging. So I guess what I mean is, if your balance is challenged or feels off, you might avoid them altogether. And so that's why I'm glad too that you made the request for tree and for a balance pose, because it's absolutely, if you are having a challenge, that's almost the best time, as long as you can do it safely, right? That being said, standing on one foot might not be your jam today. So if it's not, what I would suggest is you can do it right where I am right here, okay? Perfectly set up for a little balance right on the sitting bones. So if you're there, it's just hug, 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 hug in, keep the back as natural, as neutral as you can, and then you can essentially just tip, okay? And we're balancing right here, I'm balancing, and then you can begin to mess with stuff and just play, so long as you're not slumping, okay? If you're coming along for the ride with our tree pose, I'm not sure the way my camera's set up, because I thought I'd be on the ground the whole time, whether this is gonna work, but, oh yeah, I think I'm okay. All right, so, first off, let's feel the effects of the work we just did, okay? Ground down, and maybe rock back and forth for a moment. Here's a little balance. Coming up onto your toes, allowing yourself to come down, rock back onto your heels. Use your arms as needed to balance. Inhale up, exhale back, rocking. Whoa. Step back if you need to. Inhale up, exhale back. Inhale up one last time, and we'll hold. So up onto the balls of your feet, your tippy tiptoes. 3, 2, we're holding, but we're not holding our breath. 1, exhale, come down. Can you lift your toes, lift the fronts of your feet, and lean back without falling? You said while falling. Okay, so it's kind of a fun, we're there. Can you even get into, again, this is, if you've really worked on your ankles, you can see I'm stepping up on the mat, on the sides of my feet. This is actually a drill that I learned from basketball players. You know, the idea that if you're jumping up and you're only always in good alignment, you're more likely to be injured. But if you do this kind of thing, and you get walking and comfortable walking on all the parts of your foot, then if you come down and land and have to catch yourself, a lot less likely to injure. Okay? Good. Now, wherever you are, let's spread the toes on our right foot as wide as you can. And feel like, in fact, lift all the toes up. So the toes themselves don't need to make contact, at least initially, with the ground. You can use them for extra support in a second. Feel like your big toe base and the opposite. So that X we were working with, okay, in the heel, and then your pinky toe base and the opposite on the inner arch, that they're all making a connection. So that little X pattern is driving into the ground right through our foot, okay? Lift the other foot up just an inch. So this is key. If you've been playing with balance issues, one is we've worked in safety, we've got a wall or we've got a desk, something that we can use to catch ourselves, okay? Super important. And then when you're ready, again, it doesn't even have to be as fancy as, Vrikshasana or tree pose. We'll go there, but just playing with this is something I play with all the time, every day. I'm at the park, other people are talking, walking the dogs. I'm the weirdo that's off throwing the ball for my dog and then balancing on one foot. Okay, switch. Get really, really wide in the left foot. Spread those toes. Okay, feel your foot in space. Lift the right up. Breathe here. Be here. I didn't mention, but a key aspect of balance is focus, and a focus in your sight. Doubt this, okay, and you may want some support if you're going to play with this. Even with your right foot a couple of inches off the ground, try closing your eyes. Notice how infinitely more difficult the pose becomes, okay? Or, if you want your eyes open, try looking up. Ooh, tricky, okay? And relax that. Shake both legs out. So we're just kind of working our way up to it, okay? And then we're back to our right foot. Spread the toes, spread the sole. And it's not like we're pancaking down here. It feels like we're lifting up, okay? So you're planting the roots of your tree into the ground, but it's kind of this rebound of energy into the floor and then back up into your leg, okay? Standing up, inhale, and the leg can come up. Now, from here, what I'm going to ask you to do is to bring, as long as you're not supporting yourself with it, bring your right hand to your right hip point. Okay, so that's the kind of the bony point right here, right where I'm pointing. Okay, and then from there, without it moving, in other words, without it tracking along, what I'd like you to do is keep it face forward. Okay, so the touch really is just that you know that you're there. And then take your other foot and turn it out. So I could even feel, just in that little move, the opposite hip wanting to go with it. Okay, so you can tent your 2 feet together like this. Hands can come up, or hands can come out, or hands can come overhead. All totally great options, okay? So find the position that works for you. It's almost like here, okay, we're pointing a bow down through our left knee, and we could lift up through that right hip point because we've opened things up, okay? You can stay low, or on the inhale, maybe lift the leg up a little bit higher. Maybe foot comes onto the side of the leg without reference to the floor. Okay, good. If you're feeling wobbly, support, or press the hands together into one another. Press the foot into the leg and the leg into the foot. And notice how that can tighten things up and all of a sudden, we're solid, okay? You can also obviously come up higher if that's accessible. And you notice I did not use my arm. If you saw that. Again, there is not a bonus. No one gets wins extra points or anything for how high on your leg you can bring your foot. But often you see this when people come in there like jamming their legs up as high as they can. I think it's actually kind of more interesting to see, where does my leg go with just my leg? Okay, without needing the assist. 3, 2, let it go. Shake that foot out. In fact, maybe shake the whole body out. All right, opposite side. So spread the toes wide. Make your base. Find your focus. Inhale. Lift. exhale, turn. You notice I didn't say anything about the hip point this time, but everything remains the same, okay? Placing wherever it feels comfortable on the leg, okay? And wherever it feels comfortable, like, look, I'm able to come up high here, but that might not be working for me on a particular day. Or, to give you a for instance, if I'm working with closed eyes, this is going to be a lot more challenging than this, okay? So you can just play with messing with the inputs, messing with the shape. It's all about, as we breathe here, arms in any position. For this practice, whether it's tree pose, or it's downward dog, or it's any yoga at all, really what we want to do is play a little bit with our edge. How can you challenge yourself so that you have no choice but to pay attention to what's going on? Okay. 3. And let it go. And shake it out. And how's the balance? How'd that go, Sue? How did that land? I think I. Mm-hmm. 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 That's awesome. That's super smart. Yeah, great, fantastic, cool. Okay, working our. Oh, you're so welcome. Always, always, always. Never hesitate anyone to say I'd like this or I'd like that. And if you're not, know that if you're like, I don't know, there's got to be some Sanskrit name for what I would like to do. I've seen it, but I'm not quite sure. You can just describe the shape of it, and we'll figure it out. Like a little yoga detective work. Okay, from here, let's actually, since we're in this position, and this is something that if you were sitting in a chair, I suppose you could do if you had a table in front of you, but otherwise, since I'm down on the mat, we're gonna do just a little bit of wrist work, okay? We'll start with just simple circles. Just a few in each direction. Again, I think that even one slow, methodical circle through your entire range of motion is better than half a dozen half-assed, like not paying attention, like that, right? So we're really just kind of tuning into what's happening. If you find restriction, that's okay. Okay, moving in one direction and then the other. Okay, and then we want to. Let's build a little heat here just with our hands. So, and by the way, sitting in hero pose as I am right now, if this is uncomfortable, we're back into our cross-legged shape. You know, that will be totally fine. Okay. So, heat. Let's see if we can get to 50. Okay. Now, if you're wondering, like, get to 50, what is he talking about? Here it is. Inhale, hands open. Exhale, inhale. Exhale, inhale, exhale, now faster. 10, 20, 30. And notice the tendency for it 40 to get kind of smaller and smaller. Make it big, big, big. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stop. And shake those wrists out. Give the forearms a little break. Okay, that can get things moving pretty quickly. And in fact, even if you stop and tune in, you might notice, like I can actually, it's the feeling of and you can feel the energy in your arms and in your hands just from, you generated that through that movement, okay? From here, we're gonna come on to into a tabletop position. Okay, in the same way that we don't want our hands to be, or our feet, I should say. Oh, you're gonna stretch with us, Pooh? Excellent. Henry knows. He sees the yoga mat and he's like, oh, excellent. I didn't realize we were going to do this. This is great. Hey, buddy. So it's always downward dog. Hi, friend. So if you've got like twin sets of playing cards, like your hands are all jammed up together, open them up, and then we'll see how Henry handles this. Hi, buddy. Okay, excuse me. Then hands come onto the mat. Okay, spread those fingers wide. And again, we're not in the same way we didn't want to be driving our feet into the ground. There's kind of a cupping action. Okay, so feeling here like we're pressing most deeply into the base of our index finger, our thumb, and our pinky, and everything else kind of pulls away, okay, from there. So we're there, okay, pressing into our finger pads, pressing into our finger bases, and then from there, maybe just leaning forward ever so slightly. I've tucked my feet up away from the mat, okay, and to put your shoulders into a healthy position, we can simply turn the eyes of our elbows forward, okay, and then lean however much feels comfortable, okay, and allow yourself to come back down. And while we're here, we're just going to work in half a dozen of these. Keep your fingers exactly where they are. Thumbs can lift with the hands and come up. Ooh, and that's one. Inhale and exhale to come back down. And just notice, peek down at your hands. Are you lifting up unevenly? Like is one part of your hand lifting up higher than the other? There's three. If so, can you balance that action? 4, 5, and finally 6. When we get up to the top with 6, rotate the thumbs. Oh, there's a lot going on there. One direction, another direction, and release that. Give them a shake out. Okay? And we're simply going to turn the hands over so that we're on the backs of the hands. So careful here. Okay? Whew. So flexing the wrist forward. And I'm not sure if this is showing on camera. My hands, again, it's not like this. It's here and then down and then in. And then the play is the opposite. So we were moving forward to increase sensation in the last pose. This time, as we bring our weight back in space, fantastic. Oh my gosh, you're a good dog. As you bring your hips back in space, it will feel a little bit more intense. What are you doing today? Why, little cockapoo? Okay, you gotta let me practice, buddy. Okay, go. He's like, forget it, it's game on. Okay, go, hand, go. You gotta go or I'm gonna block you out. Go. Thanks, buddy. Okay, so we're almost there with our wrists. A couple of final ones. Check out my well-behaved dog. See, he's like, I can do this with you all the time. What's the big deal? Why can't I do this now? Okay, hands come. See, this was a strategic decision, by the way. When he was a puppy, someone, actually, my partner said, "Are you kidding me? Don't let him bother you when you're practicing, or it'll never stop." Now, truthfully, he almost never bothers me, and even now, he's not bothering me because any time I can spend with the dog, as far as I'm concerned, is great connecting time, and that's, for me, that's yoga. But, right? But today he's decided I'm not respecting the yoga limit. I'm going to keep bothering you, and that's all right. Hands come forward, okay? Then from here, can you take your pinkies as far out as you can, okay? Thumbs begin to point forward. Ooh, stretch to the inner line of the arm, okay? And then switch it. Thumbs come back, pinkies come forward, and then you can just play with that back and forth. It's a nice one if we've been at a keyboard for any amount of time. Finally, hands come together. Bring them back. Thumbs, okay, are going to point in toward the breastbone. And then from here, you will know that you are done, or that you've hit your kind of spot where you can just stay and breathe, if and when the base of your palms have to separate, okay? So we're here, palms are together, tips of our thumbs pointing into the breastbone, and then just track down towards your belly button, And this should become increasingly, shall we say, interesting. Okay, went there. That's it for me. Now, from there, I've begun to separate, so I'll just stay here. And pressing in. 3, 2, 1. Let it go. Whew, little shake. And again, this is one, in the same way that I like to peel my toes forward and back, this is where you could peel, you know, it's 1 finger, it's 2 fingers, it's 3, it's all 4. And just opening up the palms. Ah, nice. Okay. Minor hip, minor joints. I say minor because we've got the biggies now ahead of us. Hips and shoulders. Shoulders, and especially Sue, this is for you for sure. This is for everyone, but I remember that this was one that you in particular had pointed. I think it was you, actually. I shouldn't say I know. Had kind of dug. So this is a shoulder a controlled articular rotation. How's that for a mouthful? So we'll do one arm, we'll do the other arm, and then we'll put them together. Okay. So let's start with right arm, and we'll take the hand and take the back of the hand and put it in your mid back. Okay. Now, if you feel like you remember this? Yeah, you know where we're going, right? Cool. Awesome. So this is one where I'm feeling like lots of this. This one is a kind of like, it'll just open things up. Now, know that in order to get here, okay, where I am with my hand, if I've got to arch out in order to even get my hand back there, too far, okay? Take your hand a little bit further down where it's comfortable. But you come up as high as you can, okay, without, see, there you go. Now we've got all the dogs are in on the action today. Hello, Chloe. Okay, and then from here, so my palm is facing the wall behind me, okay? And as if I was gonna reach out to the little white dog, I'm gonna take that arm back, okay? And then without turning my arm, or my shoulder joint, so my pinky is facing forward, I come out to the side, okay? And then turn, ooh yeah. And that can feel really, it can feel like a lot. We're moving through the rotator cuff here, okay? Watch the shoulder coming up and jamming close to your ear, so drop it down, and just a few little rotations here. Now notice, I can keep my shoulder stable and rotate the lower arm, and I'm not moving the shoulder at all. What we want to be doing is opening everything up. So it feels like your bicep is opening and closing, okay? When you come open for the next time, inhale and arm comes up, exhale, drop it back down. And then a little kind of like you're tracing your fingers back down your back, trying to get as far down as you can, okay? For added, if you like the stretch, you can reach for the heel of your elbow, I was gonna say. I don't know if that makes sense, but right there, okay? In, let go, inhale up, exhale out, turn it down, sweep it back, and press it into your back. Nice. There's one side. Okay. Yeah? I heard a couple. Well, this recording will live on in eternity, so you can always check it out after the fact. Let's take our second arm in. Okay. Drop back. So this, extending our shoulders back, you notice many people coming up high, it's more natural, like we live in the fronts of our bodies, but this is a great counteractor, this extending our shoulders back for all the time in front of screens. Sweep the arm out, okay? And then again here, rotation. So you have to be tricky. I mean, I spent the better part of the last year and a half, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this to the group, teaching myself to throw with my off arm. I was unidextrous, like most people. I could only, threw comfortably with my right arm, and now I throw with my left. I mention it because this motion, when I was starting to work out my left shoulder, it was agony. It was just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So just be careful, especially if it's your non-dominant arm. Like now it feels great, but this can feel like a lot. Inhale up, Exhale down. I appreciate that no one called out, why in the world would you as an adult want to teach yourself how to throw with your other arm? Exactly, that is the correct answer. Why not? Because it's there. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, come down. Twist it under. Sweep it back. Drop it in. And let it go. Whew. Okay, and last option here, both hands come in. And when I'm doing this, just as for instance, when I'm doing this for myself, I will come in and I notice which palm is on top of the other. So right now I've got my right under my left, and then I'll kind of do successive rounds where I start on one side and then end on the other. So end left under right. But that's just like, I'm into yoga nerdsville now. So anyway, you're there. Inhale, bring both arms back. So you're like the ski jumper. Exhale, twist, open, drop them down. Okay. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower, twist. See you, buddy. Come on back and sweep in. And there you go. Whew. Now, if you you find yourself tomorrow or the next day or whenever, you're like, oh, the cars, how did they do that? You know, what was that again? Here's a short and simple one. Even if you were to forget that sequence, I like this as a nice little shoulder mobilizer, okay? Tuck one arm in. Again, this is just to keep, in the same way with tree pose, we didn't want to be having our trailing hip following along. We don't want our trailing shoulder. So I tuck in. Okay, I don't know, it's not about like a race to get my fingers out here to my opposite hip. It's just so that this shoulder stays quiet, okay? And then simply articulating through some simple rolls. So let's take a few here. Okay, and look, if coming up near your ear like I am here in this backstroke, if this is feeling pinchy, try it out here, try it out here. Like there's lots of different ways we could go. Okay, come up, thumb is back, sweep down through your front crawl, turn the hand as you get to the bottom, so we're opening the shoulder back up and sweeping down. Open it back up and sweeping down. Tuck that arm in, backstroke, so pinky forward, come up. This arm or just this action? Okay, you're in a chair and you don't have room. That's okay. So you don't have the room behind you. So you know what we do then? Forget about the big sweepy arm movements. We're just bring your hand in close. Okay, almost like you're touching your shoulder. Circles, right? We work with our situation. And the other way. In some ways, this one kind of, like there's a lot more feedback, I feel like. I can really feel the articulation of my shoulder through this range of motion. Okay, same deal. Oh no, yeah. Right, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, and you know what, truthfully, shoulder injuries are sort of the bane of, I shouldn't say of all yoga practice, but of vinyasa practice where people are doing a lot of chaturangas, like a lot of dropping from a high plank into a low plank, which, by the way, is completely like A-OK motion. There's been a lot of negative talk about certain poses in yoga, within yoga world over the last few years. You know, we don't do headstand, we don't do shoulder stand, we don't do push-up motion, to which I say, pshaw to all that. Anything that you and your body want to try to do, as long as you can do it safely, is totally cool. And that goes for shoulders too. I think that the issue is that it's people doing yoga poses like they're not being mindful, like they're in some sort of like speed gym class or something, and they start losing their form, and then they end up ripping up their rotator cuff. will do it, for sure. Oh yeah, no, that will definitely do it. Well, shoulders feeling a little bit more open, a little better. Why don't we move to our hips to finish up? We're actually going to start with, and here I'll show you a space restricted version here, because I'm kind of restricted to do this in the full version, but allow yourself to come to your back. Again, if you were sitting in a chair, you could do this sitting in a chair, truthfully. In fact, I've got a chair handy, I'm going to show you, rather than being lying down for this one. Okay, so, which by the way, the chair, least sexy chair of all time. And it's because I had a fancy pants chair. The reason I've got the old card deck chair is because it's wide enough that I can come up and sit cross-legged, which is a healthier position than being here so like that. In any case, okay, we're here. Okay, come up to, if you're on a chair, if you're on the floor, you're on the floor, then you're just lying back. Okay, step. You all good? Yeah. Okay. No, don't be. It's all good. So if I was here and I was all very compacted, we want to step one leg out just to create a bit of space, and then gripping onto the chair, point your one leg out, okay, or bend the knee, okay, whichever, and it's just circling through. Inhaling to come up. If you hear clicking, so what can happen there is that we get, there's like gas essentially in the joint, and when you start moving it, you'll hear like pops and cracks, and that's what's happening, provided that it doesn't feel like grinding or anything. The one thing I've noticed, switching directions, okay, so this can be in a smaller shape, or we can be working a little bit more. Okay. Again, it's whatever feels right. One thing yeah, and that's the thing for sure. Like I just wanted to show that yoga isn't something that you need a mat for. Like you could be on the bus if you wanted to do this. As long as you're not kicking the person across from you, you're okay. One thing I'll show you here when we're on our backs for the second side. One thing I've noticed in my own practice is that, especially with my left leg, if I open things up like this, and I'm like leading with my toes, I will often in the one direction get this kind of like grinding. It doesn't feel, it's not painful, it just doesn't feel awesome. Yeah, you know? So this again, every body is different and everybody is different. So this may work for you. This does work for me, and I've read up on it. This leading with the heel is one potential solution for that kind of grindiness. So we're here, okay, and you can bring the other foot up for a little support, or you can lay it down. Totally up to you. But you're here. Inhale and bring your leg up. Okay, knee can be bent too, whatever. But lead with the heel. So rather than pointing my toes as the leader, I'm going to lead with the heel and come through. And up, the whole time leading with the heel. Inhale to rise, exhale to fall. Switching directions, still leading with the heel. So I know the toes are higher, but you can see that the kind of the leading edge is the outer part of my left heel. And if you're like, what are you talking about, buddy? I'm on my back, I can't see your leading heel. Take my word for it. It's there. All right. Good. We'll let that go. Now, if I'd mentioned having a towel or a strap, what I'm going to do is I'll show you on the second leg, I'll show you with the towel or strap. Actually, what am I saying? I'm going to show it to you, and then I'll show you what to do if you don't have a towel or strap, because it'll work either way. Okay, first off, if you bring the towel or strap down around kind of just over the base of the heel, okay, this is a good one for getting into the belly of your hamstrings, like right into the back of the leg here, okay? If you move the strap up along the toe bases. So notice I didn't say along the toes like that. No one likes this, no one needs this. So we're down here, okay? And then what I like to, those of you who practiced with me in person, you know that I really like, we want to keep those feet in check. So it's almost like we're driving a stagecoach. So take your reins, or you know, with towel this may or may not be necessary or may not work, but I like to cross over and then a little wrap, okay? And then from here, the leg can come up. Now, notice, and I'm actually gonna accentuate this, I'm not worried about coming all the way up. So one quick way, one little test is, if you feel like your low back is pressing actively into the ground, back off a bit. It should maintain the natural curve of your spine, which in the lower back region, in the lumbar, should be a slight curve away, lifting away from the mat. Okay? The sigh there was by design. Sighing is our friend in general, in yoga in particular, and in this pose especially. Okay? If your foot is getting lazy, is getting floppy, press through the big toe base. If you've got the reins on your horse, and you can see I'm accentuating this, you can pull a little bit to actually help square your foot. Okay? And then, insofar as we're focused on this, let's take our attention way up high from on the tips of our toes, bring it down the leg, down the side, right to the crease, right to where your hip, like where the upper leg meets your torso. That's the angle we want to make smaller. Okay? Where the rest of this all ends up, who cares? Okay? Instead, it's just about, we're releasing the posterior chain, we're letting all the muscles at the back of the leg relax here, and we're engaging the front of the hip. Okay? I'm not going to move through the whole sequence today. Instead, we're just going to, just the one, flexing our hips. So, switch legs. And I said I'd do this without the strap. Okay, it's a bit more of an engaged pose, but you can bring both hands, bring them behind your leg, bring the leg up. And really, especially, I like this version. Sometimes you'll see people that are doing violence to themselves essentially with the strap, meaning they're yanking, they're pulling so hard into the strap, like they're gonna pull the ceiling down on themselves. And really what we want to be doing is exactly where I'm at right now, which is to say pressing the base of the foot up in the sky, up into the strap. Okay? You can even let it go, although that's really engaged. That's a lot of work. But the strap is just there for a little support so that we can give our bodies a chance to relax without fatiguing. And just notice what's going on with your breath. Notice what's going on with the muscles of your face. If either are scrunched up, if your breath is scrunchy and crunchy, or your face muscles are all like, then back off, let it go. Who needs stress, especially in this position? All right, let that go. Just gotta check how are we doing for time. The guy who needs glasses. Oh my goodness, we're at an hour already. All right, well, as they say, there's your maintenance. Let's actually, just before we hit the ground, one little stretch for our necks. What I'm going to ask you to do is bring your hands behind you. Now you have to be sitting for this. And then what I'm going to do is reach for my right wrist with my left hand and bring it however far it goes, okay, toward the left side. So I don't know if you can see that, but my hands are way up here on the left. And then I'm just going to tip my head down to the left, away from the right shoulder, working the right shoulder away from my ear. And you might even give a little tip, drop the chin down, bring it up. Ooh. Switch, hands come to the other side, tip. Little rock, always moving carefully when we're dealing with our neck. that go. And then from here, just allow yourself to come back down and find a comfortable position. This might be sitting. Okay, we had said there was choice at the beginning, sitting or lying or standing or something else. For me at this point, it's a lie. And although today, it's not actually corpse pose where I come down like this. Instead, I'm gonna go starfish just because, like I say, that's what feels right. So, tucking each of my shoulder blades in a little bit and letting everything just inhale. Exhale, let it kind of flop out. Let's do 2 more breaths together, and then I'll leave you in silence for a moment or two as we wrap up. Inhale. Into the belly. Exhale. Sigh through open lips. Big long inhale. 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 And long sigh. If you are comfortable where you are and you don't feel you don't have anywhere to go and you don't want to pick this up, then just chill out. Stay exactly where you are. But since I have the responsibility of closing the practice out, I'm going to begin to rotate my wrists and ankles, hopefully with the feeling of a bit more space than we had 45 minutes ago. Opening the fingers, opening the toes, closing them up, just getting everything open. Awake. Toes come down, hands come up, inhale, big long breath, fill everything up. Exhale, and then knees are going to come up, give yourself a hug, drop onto your right side. I'll explain why right side later, but for right now, just dropping down, a little fetal position, so we're gathering our head in our right arm, pressing our left hand down to come up. I like to give myself a little twist on the way out of this, but that is totally optional. And then come back in. Okay. Awesome. Be well, take care. And actually, that's where I'll close it. Take care, Adriana. I will email you as well. Okay, take care, everyone. Peace in. Peace out. You're so welcome. Be well. Okay, take care. Oh, and look who's here to say goodbye. You are a monkey. Yeah, there it is. He's saying, okay, yoga's over. Time for me to go for a walk in the rain. Right? Yeah. You're so welcome. Take care. Yeah, bye-bye. Nice to see you. Nice to see you too, little cocker. All right, and see you later, interweb.